Morning everybody, we're roasting soybeans today. So bean roaster just got here, we just got fired up. I'm gonna roast some soybeans this morning and probably put them away this afternoon here. So the point of roasting soybeans, I touched on this on an earlier video, but it binds the proteins up to the fats in the bean, and the point of that is it makes it more digestible for the cow, easier for them to absorb the proteins. And so we roast a lot of soybeans for our cows. We also have a base mix ingredient that we get from Ellie Summers, that we have a nutritionist there that balances our ration. So we have a base mix. We also put bean meal and roasted soybeans in with our feed for our dairy cows, and then shelled corn comes out of these bins here. So when you see the videos of me running the grinder and stuff, that's what I'm doing, is I'm mixing all these ingredients together, grinding those up into a grain supplement, you'd say, to put in the bin. And when we mix with our mixer, our TMR mixer in the barn, that's one of our ingredients we put in, is the grain that I've mixed all to make a balanced ration. It goes into the TMR, and we have a nutritionist down there that balances all that, and tells us how many pounds of each ingredient to use. And so today we're roasting some soybeans, and we're going to put them in that bin eventually. There's a lot of snow and ice on the ground, so right now we'll probably just grind off the wagon. Well, they're headed on down the road to the next job. We just got finished up, so I'm gonna put things away here, go grab some lunch, and we'll put the wagons away after lunch. Now we parked this in here a little weird because we're going to grind out of the wagon for a little bit. So we're going to take our swing away auger and we'll run it underneath the chute right there. That way I can back up the feed grinder and just grind right out of the wagon until we get time to unload these.
This is a wagon that looks kind of odd around here. It's really small. It has sentimental value. The reason it's still here is because Ben's great-grandfather, my grandfather, had a Minneapolis Moline dealership and a farm equipment repair business and did a lot of welding and fabricating. And this is actually made out of a 1930s Chevy truck, this running gear. And I didn't know it. We bought it at a farm sale, and my dad was here one day looking around, and he said, you realize that's one of your grandfather's running gears? And I didn't realize that then. So anyway, that's the running gear, was built by my grandfather, and I built the extendable tongue, so there's a couple generations of fabrication there, but this old guy will be around here a while. I don't think we'll get rid of it just for that reason, but it's kind of been practical for most things, but once in a while we use it for a transferring wagon or something. In this case, just to catch a few beans. But that's why this is still here. It looks really odd hooked to the great big wagons. It looks like it doesn't belong, but that's why it's here. This is our Claas self-propelled forage harvester, and it currently has a hay head on it. We've owned this chopper well over 5 years because the loan is paid for, probably going on 6 years or more, maybe more this spring. We've always had an issue with hay wrapping on the auger. If the hay gets tall, we plant peas and oats as a nurse crop to the alfalfa. Those get very tall, and they wrap right in the center where it feeds into the feed rolls. And
right down in here.
The problem seems to be, I'm sitting in the cab, the auger is turning faster than the feed rolls. So what you're doing is you're trying to push something into something that is not running the same speed. So therefore, instead of it going in, it goes back over the front, and then it starts creating a knot, or like wrapping up yarn or string. Have tried a few different things. One time they told me to take the paddles off of there. That made it worse because behind those smooth paddles is a rough surface. I checked the auger for rough spots. They said to check for rough spots. One YouTube suggestion was pan cooking spray. I have not gone to that extent yet. What I usually ended up doing is parking this and getting the little chopper, which we can show you in a few minutes, the little New Holland chopper, and the old 1466, and it works fine. Now, the difference between this and that, outside of size, is on the New Holland machine, when you change the speed, or let me back up, to change the length of cut, how you are cutting the length of the material, that is governed by how fast it's running. The faster it runs, the longer it makes it, because it has less time before a knife hits it, okay? So if you want to cut it fine, you slow it down so it gets more cuts per inch. If you want to make it longer, you speed it up so there are less cuts per inch. On that machine over there, the same shaft is governing the length of cut and the head drive. It all comes off the same gearbox. This machine here, the length of cut is determined from a separate location from the speed of this head. Claas has 2 speeds available. You can reverse the sprockets low and high, but there are actually six lengths of cut. So you have 2 auger speeds, 6 choices for length of cut. Now we do not cut it as fine as it will go on our haylage. We go one size bigger. The reason we cut it so fine is for the mechanically handling that we use. We use a forage blower, forage wagons, and we blow it up to silo and silo unloaders. So we can't have real long material because it will not work through our equipment. So we have to use a fairly small length of cut. However, it is not the shortest. So it has always been my thought that if we could just slow this auger down a little bit so that it matches the speed of the feed roll, so when it comes through the auger, the feed roll is taking it at the same speed, it would go in and not back over the front. So began the process of research, talking to the local dealer who was talking to the manufacturer themselves, Claas, have found out that there are no other options other than what we have. There is actually a faster option which would make things worse. So, being the farmers that we are, there isn't much on this farm that has not been modified, and to some degree, we decided to take it upon ourselves to make a different sprocket. Steve Gerber, our local Hubner seed dealer where we buy our seed, his son Sam has some machining tools, has a lathe, and he enjoys working on this kind of thing. So we employed Sam, and we got some sprockets to accommodate that, and he made them up for us. Now it was a learning process. This is a metric machine. Everything on here is metric. We found out that the chain is a 16B metric chain. Now the pitch, or the distance between the points, is the same as our American 80 chain. The difference is the thickness of the chain. And what we did find out when we ordered a 16B sprocket, it wouldn't fit this chain. So apparently Claas has this chain made specially for them. It's a little bit narrower. So we had to have Sam machine those 16B sprockets down to accommodate this Claas chain. But now, after some trips back and forth, some measuring, a few little modifications, little filing and so forth, we have these sprockets ready to put on. So we're going to go over there now and show you what we're talking about and put this thing back together again. And we're looking forward to spring, so this time hopefully the hay will go in with no knots and go out the back like we want it to. Okay, what we have here is we have the piece that goes on the end of the head. This drives the auger. This is the input shaft to drive it. So what we decided to do is change the speed of the driver and leave the driven speed alone. Now the driver previously was 15 teeth. So we weren't sure how many to drop. I guess I got this 13 tooth number 80 at Sterling Farm Equipment. And Sam, like I said, had to machine this down in thickness to fit this Claas chain. And then we also, Hackworth Electric, Jeff Hackworth is very knowledgeable about altering, modifying machinery as well. He got me this 14 to 16B. This came clear from Seattle. There's a place out there that sprocket specialists, they make anything you want. So we got this one as well. Now this one hub here was on a big sprocket off the corn head that we discontinued. It was running too fast, so Sam cut that out and used that hub to make this one. This hub was a little different. I forget where we got that sprocket. It wasn't quite the same. Sam had to make some modifications. He cut the hub out, but he had to make this bushing. That bushing is required to come up through here for support on the outside. Now all this does is maintain your chain alignment. The bearings are behind this, we'll see in a little bit, on the chopper itself. So debating on which sprocket to put on there, I think we'll go one step at a time. So we're probably going to go with this 14 and see if that solves our problem. Now to do so, we're probably going to have to shorten this chain. Now I did already make provisions there to drop out some links. So we're going to put this guy on here and see how much we need to remove. I can't remember if we need to remove a half or a whole. We'll see. Right here. Here's our half. Oops, no, stay down in there. We'll see what we need to do here to make this happen. Down in there. It's looking to me like the half will be sufficient if we drop this half link out. I'm afraid to try to get a whole link. I don't think we can quite get it. I don't think it's going to quite go together. So we're going to drop this half link out of here. And we'll try, this spring we'll try the 14 tooth first. If it isn't quite enough, we can go to the 13. We do have that option. So I mean, we had the stuff and Sam was doing the work, and I thought, well, let's just make ourselves some options. So, but I am pretty confident that we're going to see an improvement over how it behaved before. It's kind of disappointing to own a great big machine and then not be able to use it just due to one little problem. So hopefully this solves the issue we've been having. So if there's any other Claas guys out there that are enjoying the same difficulty I am, maybe you can glean something from this. Feel free to call. I mean, I'll tell you everything I know, which is all but trial and error. But what we do know is it wasn't working before. Really simple setup. Enjoy the simplicity of a lot of their stuff. Alright, so what this is going to do is going to turn that auger slower, and hopefully that's enough. If it's not, we'll change that out to the 13. But I think we should see a noticeable difference in it. So, I guess we're going to have to stay tuned for that for a day when we're chopping hay. But it should make a difference in the speed that thing runs. So,